Medicare won't cover loneliness. And a 401k won't protect you from feeling erased. Retirement can turn the American dream into a quiet house, a quiet phone, and a quiet panic you never planned for. So let me ask you straight, did you work your whole life just to sit in a quiet house and feel useless? Part 1. The Quiet House. The bill for a lifetime of staying busy. Did you work your whole life just to sit in a quiet house and feel useless? I'm not asking that to be dramatic. I am asking because a lot of folks hit retirement and realize the freedom they dreamed about feels like getting erased. The first month I retired, I did not feel grateful. I felt invisible. Nobody needed me at 7:00 a.m. Nobody was waiting for my call. Nobody cared if I showed up early or late, because there was nowhere to show up. That is the part nobody puts on the brochure. They tell you retirement is fishing, travel, and finally relaxing. They do not tell you that the silence in your home can feel like a verdict. Not peace, a verdict. At work, I had a role. I was the guy who fixed things. The problem solver. The one who handled the mess so other people could sleep at night. I paid bills, made decisions, and kept the wheels turning. You do that for 40 years, and you start believing you are valuable because you are needed. Then one day, you are not needed, not in the same way. And your brain does not know what to do with that. The quiet hits in small moments. You walk into the kitchen, and there is no rush, no lunch to pack, no meeting to beat, no reason to put on real pants unless you want to. That sounds funny until you live it for weeks. Then it stops being a joke, and it starts feeling like you are drifting. You check your phone more than you should. You are not even looking for anything specific. You are looking for proof you still matter to someone. A text, a missed call. Anything that says, "Hey, I thought of you." Most days it is a robocall, a pharmacy reminder, or an insurance notification you do not feel like opening. I used to think the problem was boredom. I used to think I just need a hobby. That was the lie. I was trying to treat a wound like it was a mild itch. Then I lost something I did not even know I was holding on to. I lost my rhythm. I lost the structure that kept my head from wandering into dark corners. I lost the feeling of being part of a machine that needed my hands on the wheel. And when that went away, I did not suddenly become a peaceful, retired man. I became a man with too much empty space in his day. So I did what a lot of people do. I tried to outrun the quiet. I left the TV on for background noise, which turned into half the day. I made pointless errands just to have somewhere to go. And I would end up in the Walmart parking lot, buying things I did not plan to buy. I told myself I deserved it. It was just $20, then just 40, then it became a habit. I scrolled on my phone like the next video might fix the ache in my chest. And I pretended I was fine. That was my favorite trick. I would say, retirement is good, can't complain, while I felt hollow sitting at my own kitchen table. Here is what I know now. The problem is not that you have free time. The problem is that you lost your role and your rhythm. You went from being needed to being optional. And no amount of daytime television can repair that. Nobody likes to admit it, but humans need to be useful. Not important in some big public way. Useful in a small, real way. Useful to one person, one place, one routine. When that disappears, the quiet gets loud. So I am going to give you something practical. Not a speech about finding your purpose, not a big reinvention. A small reset you can do tomorrow morning. You need 2 anchors a day. Pick 2 fixed times. The same times every day, like you're punching a time clock. Except now you are punching it for your own sanity. 1 anchor in the morning, 1 anchor in the evening. No negotiation. No waiting to feel like it. My morning anchor is simple. I get up, I drink a glass of water, and I walk. Some days it is a mile. Some days it is half a mile. I do not care. The point is not performance. The point is proving to my brain that the day has started and I am in it. My evening anchor is also simple. I do one small thing that makes tomorrow easier. Sometimes it is putting the trash out. Sometimes it is laying out what I need for the morning. Sometimes it is paying one bill online so it is not sitting in my head all night. The action is small, but the message is big. I am still steering. That is what anchors do. They stop you from floating. They give your day edges. They give your mind a place to rest. Now add one small way to be useful again, not heroic, not exhausting. Something you can actually keep. It might be a standing Tuesday breakfast at the diner on Main Street where the waitress knows your name. It might be driving 5 miles to a community center class once a week. It might be calling one person every Friday, the same person, just to check in. It might be helping a neighbor with a small task. Not because you are trying to earn love, but because you are building a role. And listen to me here, this matters. Do not wait to be invited. Retirement is not high school. Nobody is passing you a note asking if you want to sit at their table. If you want connection and meaning, you have to initiate it without shame. When I started doing this, I did not suddenly become joyful. That is not how it works, but I stopped feeling erased. I stopped feeling like my life ended, and I was just killing time until the credits rolled, because the truth is, you do not need a brand new identity. You need a rhythm you can trust. You need a reason to get dressed that is not a doctor appointment. You need your days to have shape, because an unshaped day becomes a silent enemy. And here is the part that sneaks up on you. The quieter your life gets, the more you start hearing the other worries you kept buried. You sit down, you open the mailbox, and there is another insurance letter. You check your account after the Social Security deposit hits, and your chest still tightens. Property taxes are coming. Utilities do not care that you are retired. Gas costs what it costs. That is when the quiet house turns into something else. It turns into quiet panic, and if you have felt that, you are not alone. That is what we are talking about next. Because nothing will shame you faster than standing at a checkout line, watching the total climb, and realizing peace is not free. Part 2. The shame at the checkout line. I have stood in that checkout line and felt like a fraud. Not a criminal, not a deadbeat. Just a man who did what he was told for decades, and still ended up sweating over a grocery total. That shame is different when you are older. When you are 25 and broke, people tell you it is part of the journey. When you are 70 and broke or even just tight, it feels like a personal failure, like you missed a step everyone else figured out. Have you ever put the good meat back because you were terrified of the total? I'm not talking about being picky. I mean that moment where your hand hovers, your brain does quick math, and your pride takes a hit. You grab the cheaper option and try to act like you prefer it. Then you get to the register, and the numbers keep climbing. 47, 68, 83, and you are standing there smiling at the cashier like you are fine. Your stomach is tight, and you are listening for that beep like it is judging you. Here is the part nobody wants to admit. The math is not what hurts the most. The shame is what hurts. The shame is what makes you avoid looking. The shame is what makes you pretend. The shame is what makes you feel alone even when you are surrounded by people. I hear this from folks all the time, and I lived it myself. I worked overtime. I paid taxes. I raised kids. I didn't gamble away my paycheck. So why am I counting dollars at the grocery store like I'm a teenager again? That question can make you feel bitter. It can make you feel embarrassed. It can make you feel like you did something wrong. Sometimes you did make mistakes. I sure did. But a lot of the time, it is just the reality of fixed income and rising costs. Social Security checks show up, and then the bills show up like they were waiting in the driveway. Property taxes do not care that you are tired. The utility bill does not care that you are retired. Gas costs what it costs, and the car insurance went up again. Then there is the health side of it. Medicare Part B premiums come out, and you still have copays. If you are on a Medicare Advantage plan, You might still be paying every time you walk into an office. Prescriptions are not free because you have gray hair. You stand at the pharmacy counter and feel your throat tighten when they tell you the price, even after insurance, and the 401k you thought would carry you, sometimes it is smaller than you planned. Sometimes the market took a bite. Sometimes you had to tap it for emergencies. Sometimes you helped the kids when they were struggling, because you are a parent and you could not watch them sink. This is where the shame gets mean. It whispers, "You should have known." It says, "Everyone else is doing better than you." It tells you to keep it quiet, because if people knew, they would look at you different, so you cope in the worst ways. I used to think ignoring it would make it go away. That was the lie. I would leave the 401k statement unopened. I would avoid the bank app. I would tell myself I would deal with it next week. Like next week was going to bring a miracle. Then I lost more than money. I lost peace. I lost sleep. I lost the ability to enjoy a simple diner bill because I was always doing math in my head. I used credit to not feel it, and then I felt it later with interest. That is how the trap works. Now I know this. Shame thrives in fog. If you do not look, the fear grows. If you do not name the numbers, your imagination will always make it worse. So I am not going to tell you to budget better like I'm some guy on TV selling a course. I am going to give you something simple you can do in 15 minutes. Even if you hate money talk, especially if you hate money talk, you need a 3-number dashboard. Number 1, your fixed bills. The stuff that hits every month whether you are happy or not. Mortgage or rent, utilities, property taxes if you pay them monthly. Car insurance, Medicare premiums, phone, internet, prescriptions, and any minimum payments. Write one total number. It does not have to be perfect. It has to be real. Number 2, what comes in. Social Security pension if you have one. Withdrawals you actually take from your 401k paying. Any part-time income. Again, one total number. No guessing. No hope math. Number 3, what is left after the fixed bills. That is the truth number. That is the number that decides whether you have breathing room or you are running on fumes. If the truth number is small, do not panic and do not beat yourself up. Now you have clarity, and clarity is power. When you are older, power is not about earning more. Power is about controlling what leaks out. So here is the next step, and it is not glamorous. Find one small cut that gives you breathing space. Not 10 cuts. 1. Something you can actually keep. Maybe it is a streaming bundle you do not watch that costs $25 a month. Maybe it is a cable package you kept out of habit. Maybe it is eating out one less time a week. Maybe it is a subscription you forgot you had because it quietly charges your card. That one small cut becomes your breathing line. It is the difference between panic and control. And I want you to understand why this matters. It is not because I need you to be responsible. It is because fear is expensive. Fear makes you make dumb choices. Fear makes you avoid the mailbox. Fear makes you reach for credit. Fear makes you feel like your life is closing in. Clarity does the opposite. Clarity lets you walk into the store with a plan and keep your dignity. Clarity lets you look at your bank account without that sick feeling. Clarity lets you stop lying to yourself, which is the worst kind of stress because it follows you everywhere. You are not lazy. You are not stupid. You are not alone. A lot of good people are living on a tight margin right now. And the quietest people are often the ones hurting the most. But I am going to say one more hard thing, because it is true. If you do not face your money will face you. Usually at the worst time, it will face you when the car breaks down. It will face you when the property tax bill hits. It will face you when the pharmacy says, that'll be $187. And you have to decide right there what you can live without. And that leads to the next truth. The one that scares people more than the grocery total. When money gets tight, the body becomes the scariest expense. Doctor visits, meds, mobility, and the dread of becoming dependent, those costs do not wait for you to feel. Ready? So in the next part, we are going to talk about the one place you live every single day, your body, and why you cannot afford to treat it like an afterthought. Part 3. Your body is home. Don't wait until the hospital to come back to it. I didn't take my health seriously until I was sitting in a waiting room holding paperwork I couldn't even pronounce. I had forms in my lap, a pen in my hand, and this strange feeling in my chest that had nothing to do with the reason I was there. It was the realization that I had been treating my body like a tool right up until the tool stopped working. After 55, your body stops forgiving you. That is not an insult. It is a fact. You can't eat like you're 35, sleep like you're 25, and move like you're 18. Then act shocked when your knees start arguing with you every morning. The warning signs show up quietly at first. You get stiff when you stand up. You recover slower after a simple day of chores. Your sleep gets lighter and more broken. Your balance gets a little shaky when you turn too fast. You start holding the handrail more than you used to, and you tell yourself, "It's nothing. I used to think it was nothing. I used to think I'm just getting older. That's how it goes." That was the lie. The lie was that aging means you have no say in what happens next. Then I lost something that scared me more than pain. I lost confidence in my independence. I remember the first time I hesitated before stepping off a curb because my knee felt unstable. That should not have been a big deal, but it was. It was the first time I realized if I go down, I might not bounce back. Now I know this. The real fear is not getting older. The real fear is needing help to do things you can do alone today. Driving yourself to the grocery store. Getting up from a chair without using your hands. Carrying a bag of groceries without feeling like you're going to drop it. Walking to the mailbox without stopping to catch your breath. And let's talk about the part that nobody wants to say out loud. Health problems don't just hurt. They cost. You pay at the pharmacy counter. You pay in co-pays. You pay in physical therapy sessions. You pay with bills that show up 3 weeks later and make you stare at the envelope like it's a threat. You can be in-network and still feel broke. Medicare helps, sure, but Medicare does not cover everything. And it definitely does not cover the consequences of ignoring your body for 10 years. A primary care visit might be a small copay, but the follow-ups add up. Prescriptions add up. That one test the doctor orders just to be safe can turn into a string of appointments and paperwork you didn't plan for. And it is not only money. It is time and energy. Scheduling appointments, sitting in waiting rooms, calling insurance, picking up refills. You start planning your week around your body instead of your life. And that's when you realize you're paying in freedom. Here is the denial trap a lot of us fall into. We say, "I'll start when I feel better," or "I'm too old to change," or "It runs in my family," or the big one, "I don't have money for a gym." All of that sounds reasonable until you realize what it really means. It means you are waiting for the problem to get worse before you act. I made that mistake. I skipped checkups I should not have skipped because I didn't want bad news. I brushed off pain because I didn't want to look weak. I ate like a man who still had a young man's metabolism. And I slept like a guy who could catch up on weekends. I kept telling myself I would get serious soon. Then soon turned into later. Later turned into years. And years turned into that waiting room. So here is the truth that matters. Fitness after 55 is not about looking good. It is about keeping your freedom. I do not care if you can't run. I do not care if you have never touched a dumbbell. I care if you can stand up, walk steady, and live in your own home without fear of becoming dependent. You cannot outsource this. You can't outsource it to your doctor. You can't outsource it to Medicare. You can't outsource it to a pill. Those things can help, but they are not the foundation. The foundation is what you do on the ordinary days. Let me give you a plan that does not require a gym membership or a perfect body. It is plain, repeatable, and it works because it is small enough to stick with. I call it the 20-10 rule. 3 times a week, you do a 20-minute walk and 10 minutes of simple strength. That's it. Not 2 hours, not a fancy program. 30 minutes, 3 times a week. You can handle that, even if you have aches, even if you start slow. The walk can be half a mile, or just a loop around your neighborhood. The point is to get your heart working a little and your joints moving. If you need to stop, you stop. If you need to go slower, you go slower. You are not training for a medal. You are training for your life. Then the 10 minutes of strength is basic. Chair sits, where you stand up and sit down from a sturdy chair a few times. Wall push-ups, holding on to the kitchen counter and doing slow calf raises. If your balance is shaky, you do it near something solid. You do not risk a fall to prove a point. Why strength? Because strength is what keeps you from becoming fragile. Strength is what helps you catch yourself when you trip. Strength is what lets you carry groceries, climb stairs, and get off the floor if you ever have to. At 70, strength is not vanity. Strength is insurance. Now add one habit that makes this easier. Because most people fail at health for one simple reason: they try to do 2. Much at once? Pick one. I'll give you mine. I drink water before I drink coffee. 1 glass every morning. Nothing dramatic, but it matters. Dehydration makes you tired, makes you dizzy, makes your joints feel worse, and it makes you snack on junk because your body is confused. 1 glass of water is not a miracle, but it's a signal. It tells your body, I'm paying attention again. If sleep is your issue, do it this way. Pick one bedtime and stick to it most nights. Even if you don't sleep perfectly, consistency helps your body settle. You don't need a perfect 8 hours to improve. You need a routine you can keep. Here is the part I want you to hear, because this is where hope lives. You can change the next 90 days. Not into a new person, but into a steadier person. A person who falls less, hurts less, and worries less. A person who can still drive to the store without thinking. What if I can't? That is the goal. Not a beach body, a free body. And there is one more truth tied to this that people do not talk about enough. When your body slows down, your world gets smaller. You stop going places because it's a hassle. You stop walking into rooms because you don't want to feel tired. You say no to invitations because you're worried about pain, or bathrooms, or stairs, or just embarrassment. That is how loneliness starts winning. Not all at once, but inch by inch. So next, we are going to talk about people. The calls that stop coming, the friends who fade, the kids who get busy. Because your body is one battle, but if you don't fight for connection too, the quiet gets even louder. Part 4. The calls that stop coming. Friends fade. Kids get busy. I used to stare at my phone like it owed me something, and it stayed silent. Not totally silent. Of course, a robocall about my car's extended warranty. A pharmacy text telling me my refill is ready. A Medicare appointment reminder that feels more like a calendar alert than a human voice. But the calls, I meant the ones that make you feel like you exist. Those got rare. Here is the hard truth. After 55, relationships don't just happen anymore. The people you worked with for 20 years can disappear the minute you stop. Showing up at 8:00 a.m., the guys you ate lunch with gone. The woman who sat 2 desks over and knew your grandkids' names, you'll run. Into her once at the grocery store, you'll say, we should get together. And then you won't. It is not always cruelty. It is life. Work was the glue. The schedule was the glue. When the glue dissolves, most people drift apart without even meaning to. I used to think, if it mattered, they'll reach out. That was the lie. The lie is that grown adults, busy and distracted, will keep relationships alive automatically, Most of them won't. Not because they are bad, but because nobody is steering. Then I lost something that surprised me. I lost the casual everyday proof that I belonged somewhere. I didn't just lose coworkers, I lost a built-in circle. And without that circle, I started hearing the quiet again, only this time it wasn't my house. It was my phone. Now let's talk about the one topic that makes people defensive. Your kids. Your adult kids are not bad people. Most of them are doing what you did. They are trying to survive. They have mortgages, jobs, school drop-offs, a spouse, a tired brain, and a phone that never stops buzzing. They are running their own race, and you are not the center of it anymore. That is painful, even when you understand it. You go from being daily life to being an appointment. Hey, Mom, can we talk Sunday? Hey, Dad, I'm slammed this week. How about next? You start feeling like you need to book time with your own family, and if you are honest, you start wondering, did I work my whole life just to become a calendar event? That is the invisibility wound. It is not just loneliness. It is the feeling that you went from needed to optional. And most folks won't say it out loud because it sounds weak, but it hurts. Here is where we make it worse for ourselves. I used to wait. I used to tell myself, if they care, they'll call. Then I would sit there and stew. I would check my phone, see nothing, and my mind would start building a story. They don't miss me. They don't need me. I'm in the way. That story will eat you alive if you let it. Sometimes I got bitter. I would do that little test people do. Let's see if they call. I would stop initiating just to prove a point. The only person that test proved anything to was me, because all it gave me was more silence. Other times I overgave. I would jump the second somebody needed something. A ride, money, babysitting. Fixing a problem. I was trying to earn love by being useful. That is a dangerous habit at this age because it drains you. And it can leave you feeling used. So let me say this clearly. Loneliness is not a personality flaw. It is a predictable outcome of retirement, aging, and shrinking routines. If you do not build connection on purpose, you will not have it by accident. That is the turning point. Connection at this age is built on structure, not luck. You do not need a huge social life. You need 1 or 2 dependable points of contact, a steady place, a steady time, a steady person, even if it's just one. That is why we should get together sometime usually dies. It has no structure. It is just a polite sentence floating in the air. Sometime never shows up. Here is what works instead. Pick one standing weekly touch point and commit for 4 weeks before you judge it. It can be Tuesday breakfast at the diner on Main Street. Same time. Same booth if you can. It can be a Wednesday walking buddy, even if it's only a mile at a slow pace. It can be Sunday at church or a community group. It can be a Friday library program or a Veterans Hall meeting. If that's your world, you're not shopping for friends like it's a hobby. You are building a routine that puts you around people. And yes, gas costs money. I know. Sometimes it feels ridiculous to drive 5 miles just to sit with somebody and talk about nothing. But nothing is actually something. It is the glue. It is the small talk that reminds you that you are still part of the human race. Now, if you struggle to reach out because you don't want to sound needy, here is a simple script that works. Keep it short. Keep it normal. Hey, Linda, I'm going to grab breakfast Tuesday at 9. If you feel like getting out, join me. No pressure. That's it. No guilt. No speech. No. You never call. No, I guess you're too busy. Just an open door. Or if it's your kid, do it like an adult, not like a wounded teenager. Hey, bud, I'm free Wednesday evening. If you've got 10 minutes, I'd love to hear how you're doing. 10 minutes is a gift to a busy person. It is also a boundary for you. You're not begging for hours. You're asking for a small, real connection. Now let's talk about boundaries, because this is where older folks get burned. Stop chasing one-sided relationships. Stop being the only one who calls, the only one who drives, the only one who pays, the only one who shows up. I'm not telling you to cut everyone off. I am telling you to stop bleeding for people who would not hand you a bandage. If someone only texts you when they need something, you are not their friend. You are their tool, and you are too old to live like that. Choose people who meet you halfway, even if halfway is small. A person who shows up once a week is worth more than 10 people who promise they will get back to you. And here is the part that ties back to your body and your money. When your body slows down, you go out less. When you go out less, your circle shrinks. When your circle shrinks, days start blending together. You look up and a week is gone, then a month, then a year. That is when time starts feeling like it is speeding up. Not because the clock changed, but because your life stopped having markers. So in the next part, we're going to talk about that why time starts slipping through your fingers after 55, and what you can do to slow it down without pretending you can turn back the calendar. Part 5, Why Time Speeds Up After 55. I looked up one day and realized 10 years had passed like it was a long weekend. I'm not saying that for effect. I mean it literally, because I could not tell you what I did in most of those days. I was alive, I was functioning, but I wasn't really living. If you're over 55, you know what I'm talking about. Thanksgiving shows up, then Christmas, then New Year's, and somehow it is spring again. Your grandkids look taller every time you see them, and you catch yourself saying, "Wasn't he just in kindergarten?" Meanwhile, your own weeks blur together like someone smeared the calendar with their thumb. Here's the gut punch. Time doesn't actually speed up. Your life just stops leaving marks. When you're working, everything has markers: paydays, deadlines, meetings, commutes. Even the annoyances separate one week from the next. You remember things because your days have edges. Then retirement hits, and a lot of people fall into repeat mode. Wake up, coffee, TV, a couple errands, maybe a doctor appointment, dinner, more TV, sleep, then do it again. The days look so similar that your brain stops saving them. That is why 5 years can disappear without you noticing. I used to think the answer was more fun. I used to think I needed a big trip, a big project, a big change, something worthy of a story. That was the lie. The lie was that your life only counts when it's exciting. Then I lost something quiet and terrifying. I lost the ability to remember my own time. I'd sit down at the end of a week and realize I couldn't name one thing that made it different from the week before. That kind of fog messes with your head. It creates a special kind of regret, because you can't even point to what went wrong. You just feel like life is sliding off the table. Now I know this. Time slows down when you are present, and when your days have markers, you can remember. Not big adventures, not expensive plans, small moments you can name. Let me say it another way. If you can't name your week will vanish. And if your weeks vanish, your years vanish. That's how people wake up at 70 and say, "Where did my 60s go?" It didn't go anywhere. It just didn't leave footprints. Most people make the same mistake I did. They wait for motivation. They wait for the perfect day. They wait for their energy to return. They wait for a friend to call first. They wait for the weather, the mood, the money, the right season. And while they wait, the calendar keeps moving like it doesn't even know their name. So here's the practical reset. You can start tonight, and you do not need to believe in anything mystical for it to work. This is not mindfulness. This is not a guru routine. This is how you stop losing your days. First, 15 minutes of no screen time every day. No phone, no TV, no scrolling, just 15 minutes. I know that sounds small, but small is the point. If you're 65 or 75, you don't need complicated, you need consistent. 15 minutes is a door you can actually walk through. During that 15 minutes, do something simple and real. Sit at the table with a cup of coffee and just think. Take a short walk down your street. Stretch a little. Look at tomorrow's schedule. The activity doesn't matter as much as the fact that you are awake to your own life for a few minutes. Why does this work? Because screens erase time. You can lose 2 hours and not remember a single minute. That is not a moral failure. It's how it's designed. If you want time back, you have to step out of the machine on purpose. Second, you need one weekly memory anchor. One standing plan, same day, same general time, every week, not sometime. A real slot. This is where real American life helps you. Pick a Tuesday breakfast at the diner on Main Street. Pick Sunday church, even if you only stay for the hour and leave. Pick a library group on Thursday. Pick a Wednesday walk route. Pick something that costs little or nothing, because I'm not pretending money is unlimited. If your Social Security deposit day is a big marker for you, use it. After the deposit hits, make that the day you do one thing outside the house coffee with a neighbor. A short drive, a small errand that isn't just killing time. It becomes a flag in the week. Your brain remembers flags. Third, write down 2 lines every day. 2 lines, not a diary, not a novel. You do not need to be a writer. You need to be honest. Line 1, what did I actually do today? Line 2, what did I actually feel today? That's it. 2 lines. Most people avoid this because they're scared of what they'll see. Some days I didn't want to admit. I watched TV for 6 hours and felt lonely. That's why it works. It forces your life to become visible again. When you do this for a week, something changes. Your days stop being a fog and start becoming a sequence. You can look back and say, Tuesday I went to breakfast. Wednesday I walked a mile. Friday I called my grandson. Sunday I went to church. Those are markers. Those markers are what make time feel real. And here's the part people don't expect. This isn't just about memory. It's about dignity. When you can name your days, you stop feeling like you're wasting your life. You start seeing choices again. You start noticing patterns. You start catching yourself before you drift for months. That's what I wish someone had told me earlier. I kept thinking I needed more time. I didn't. I needed more attention to the time I already had. If you're sitting there thinking, that sounds simple, good. Simple is how you win at this age. Simple is how you beat the drift. Start tonight. 15 minutes with no screens, 2 lines on paper. Pick one weekly anchor and put it in your calendar. The same way you put a Medicare appointment in your calendar. You don't wait to feel like it with those appointments. You show up because it matters. Your life deserves that same respect. And once you start paying attention like this, you'll notice something else, something that has been stealing your time for years. It's the clutter, the stuff, the obligations you don't even want anymore. The piles that whisper, deal with me later. The old guilt you keep carrying around. That's where we're going next. Because you can't slow time down if you're buried under things that don't serve you. It's time to lighten the load. Part 6. Downsizing. Less stuff, less weight in your head. I didn't realize how heavy my life was until I tried to clean one shelf and got tired in 10 minutes. Not I need a nap tired. I mean that deep tired where you feel annoyed, overwhelmed, and strangely sad, like the mess isn't just on the shelf, it's in your head. That's when it hit me. I wasn't living in a home anymore. I was living in a storage unit I happened to pay property taxes on. Let's get honest. Most people don't keep stuff because they need it. They keep it because they're scared of wasting money, scared of letting go of the past, scared of admitting a chapter is over. So they build little museums in closets, basements, garages, and junk drawers. And then they act surprised when they feel stuck. After 55, clutter is not a cute personality trait. It becomes risk. It becomes stress. It becomes delay. It becomes that thing you keep pushing off until someday, even though you know someday is not guaranteed. I opened a closet once and saw boxes I hadn't touched in 10 years. 10 years. Old cables, old paperwork, random manuals for things I don't even own anymore. A drawer full of expired coupons. Like I was going to save the family fortune with a 50-cent discount that expired in 2014, and the worst part is not the mess. The worst part is what it does to your mind. Every pile is a small unpaid bill in your brain. Every box says, "Deal with me." Every stack of Medicare paperwork says, "You're behind." You walk past it every day, and it quietly steals energy you don't have to spare. Then there's the hidden cost people don't talk about. More stuff means more cleaning, more repairs, more duplicates because you can't find what you already have, more stress. Sometimes more money going out, too. I've seen folks pay $100 a month for a storage unit because they can't decide. That's $1, $200 a year to keep fear in a metal box. Meanwhile, they're stressing about the cost of gas and the electric bill. I used to think keeping everything was being responsible. That was the lie. I told myself, I might need this. And I said it so many times it started to sound like wisdom. Then I lost time. I lost space. I lost calm. I would spend an afternoon looking for something simple, get frustrated, and end up buying it again. I'd miss an important letter because it was buried under junk mail. I'd avoid inviting people over because I didn't want anyone to see the chaos. Now I know the truth. I was paying for stuff twice, once when I bought it, and again every month in stress and storage. And let me say the part that is uncomfortable but real. Clutter plus aging equals danger. You don't need a dramatic fall to change your life. You trip on something you left on the floor. You slip because there's no clear path. You bump into a stack of boxes in the garage. You go down, and suddenly you're not talking about downsizing anymore. You're talking about rehab, physical therapy, and who's going to drive you to appointments. People love to say, I want to stay in my home as long as possible. Fine. Then make your home survivable. Not pretty. Survivable? Here's the turning point. Downsizing is not losing your life. It is clearing room for the life you still have. You are not throwing away memories. You are choosing which memories get to sit in the front seat with you, and which ones can ride in the trunk or get dropped off entirely. Because right now, if your house is full of who you used to be, it leaves no room for who you are now. Now I'm not going to turn this into a cleaning tutorial. I'm going to give you a simple system you can actually do. Even if your back hurts and your patience is thin, set a timer for 15 minutes. One drawer, one shelf, one small corner, not the whole garage. Not the whole basement, one small target. When the timer starts, you make 3 choices. Keep, donate, trash. That's it. No fourth option called I'll decide later. Later is how piles breed. Here's a rule that helped me. If I have not used it in the last year, and it does not truly matter, it goes. That's not cold. That's honest. If it's something you love and it has a real story, keep it, but keep it on purpose. Put it in one place where it belongs. Don't let it float around your house like guilt. If it's usable but you don't use it, donate it. Goodwill exists for a reason. Let somebody else get value out of it instead of letting it rot in your closet. If it's broken, expired, or it's just junk, trash it. You do not need to hold a funeral for a dead extension cord. When the timer ends, you stop. That's important. You stop so you don't burn out. You stop so you can do it again tomorrow. The goal is not to win in one day. The goal is to build a habit that slowly gives you your house back. And while you're doing this, look for safety. Clear the pathways. Get rid of trip hazards. Make sure you can walk from your bedroom to the bathroom without weaving. Through obstacles, that is not paranoia. That is how you protect your independence. If you want to make it even simpler, start with paper. People drown in paper. Old bills, old insurance letters, old statements. Half of it is fear in envelope form. Take one stack, 15 minutes, and sort it. Keep what matters. Shred what doesn't. That alone can make you breathe easier. Here's what surprised me when I started doing this. The house got lighter, yes, but my head got quieter. I stopped feeling like I was behind on life. I started feeling like I could move again. And that leads to the next question, the one that shows up when the clutter is gone and the TV is off and you've got actual space in your day. If you're not chasing stuff anymore, what are you here for now? That's what we're talking about next. Because meaning isn't a feeling that drops out of the sky. It's a habit you build, one small commitment at a time. Part 7. Meaning isn't a feeling, it's a habit. I kept waiting to wake up and feel like my life mattered again. That day didn't come until I started acting like it mattered. That's the part nobody likes to hear. Because it means you can't sit around and wait for a mood to rescue you. Retirement removes deadlines, and at first that sounds like heaven. Then the days blur. You wake up, you do a few things, you sit down, you look up, and it's dark outside. After a while, you start asking a quiet question you don't want to admit out loud. What's the point? That question doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. You spent decades living inside a structure job, bills, schedules, responsibilities, and then one day the structure disappears. Most people don't build a new one. They just drift. I used to think purpose was a feeling. I used to think I'd find it the way you find your keys by looking around until it shows up. That was the lie. I'd tell myself, I'll do something meaningful when I feel motivated. Like motivation was going to knock on the door and introduce itself. Then I lost weeks to nothing. Not rest, nothing. More TV, more sitting, more anxiety. I got irritated over small things. I argued with people I care about because I had no real outlet. I scrolled my phone, watched the same news, got mad. Then did it again the next day. And under all of it was a feeling I hated admitting uselessness. Now I know the truth. Meaning comes from responsibility you choose. Small responsibility, repeatable responsibility. Responsibility aimed at another human being, not your ego. That's why Find Your Passion talk doesn't help most seniors. Passion is great if you have it. But most people at 65 or 75 don't need passion. They need a reason to get dressed and show up somewhere, even when they don't feel like it. Let me give you a framework that actually works. 3 simple pieces, 1 role, 1 place, 1 person. 1 role means you pick something you can reliably do, not something that drains you. Not something that requires you to be a superhero. Something you can keep even on low-energy days. 1 place means you pick a location where you belong. A church basement meeting, a community center, a library program, a veterans hall, a food pantry, a senior center. Somewhere you can show up and be recognized, even if you're not the life of the party. 1 person means you choose 1 human being you can be steady for. It might be a neighbor who needs a ride to an appointment. It might be someone you mentor for an hour. It might be an older friend who's more isolated than you are. It might even be your own grandkid if you can do it with boundaries and a schedule, not as a last-minute emergency every time. You don't need to change the world. You need to be reliable in a small corner of it. That's where meaning lives. Here's what people get wrong. They try to decide this like it's permanent. They act like choosing 1 thing means they're signing up forever, and that fear stops them from choosing anything at all. So don't do it that way. Do a 4-week trial. Pick 1 standing weekly commitment, 2 hours a week, for 4 weeks. Put it on the calendar like it's a Medicare appointment. Same day, same time. You're not waiting to feel inspired. You're building a habit that gives your week shape. 2 hours is enough to matter. And it's not so much that it wrecks your body or your budget. If gas costs too much, pick something close. If driving at night is hard, pick a daytime slot. If your energy is limited, pick something light. For example, you can volunteer at a food pantry for 2 hours on Thursday mornings. You can help with Meals on Wheels if that fits your health. You can show up to a library program and help set up chairs. You can attend a Veterans Hall meeting once a week. You can tutor a kid for an hour and spend the next hour just being present and consistent. And if you don't know where to start with the easiest thing. Call your local senior center. Walk into a community center and ask what they have. Ask the library. Most of these places are starving for reliable people. They don't need perfection. They need someone who shows up. Here's the part that matters most. You have to tell one person what you're doing, not for praise accountability. Tell Frank, tell Linda, tell your daughter, tell your neighbor. Say, I'm trying something for 4 weeks. That one sentence makes it real. I'll give you a simple way to reach out so it doesn't feel awkward. Keep it short and normal. Hey, Frank, I'm going to the community center on Thursdays for a few weeks. Want to grab coffee after one of these days? Or, hey, Linda, I'm trying a Tuesday breakfast thing at the diner. If you ever want to join, I'll be there at 9. No guilt, no pressure. Just a door, and I want to be clear about one thing. This is not about being busy again. Busy is not meaning. You can fill every hour and still feel empty. This is about being useful in a way that connects you back to life. When I finally did this, my life didn't get louder. It got quieter in a good way. The anxiety dropped because my days had a reason. The petty frustrations eased because I had something real to focus on. I stopped asking, what's the point as often? Because the point was on my calendar. Meaning isn't a feeling, it's a habit. It's something you build the way you built your work life, showing up. Even when you don't feel like it. Now, I'm not going to pretend this is easy. Starting something new late in life can make you feel foolish. You worry you won't fit in. You worry you'll fail. You worry people will judge you. That fear is real, and it stops more seniors than money ever will. That's what we're talking about next, how to start over at 60, 70. 80 without making it big, without making it dramatic, and without letting fear run the show. Part 8, starting over at 60, 70, 80. Not big, just real. I wasted time saying someday. Then I realized someday is a lie that gets more expensive every year. It costs you in money, in health, in relationships, and in the quiet kind of regret that doesn't show up on a bank statement. I said someday about everything. Someday I'll get in better shape. Someday I'll call my old friend back. Someday I'll deal with the mess in the garage. Someday I'll sit down and look at my numbers. Someday I'll stop drifting. And while I was talking like that, the calendar kept moving like it had places to be. Here's the fear under it. Fear of looking foolish, fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of starting and not finishing. A lot of older folks don't say that fear out loud because we were raised to handle it. But fear doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It just starts driving. I used to think I needed confidence first. That was the lie. I waited until I felt ready. Like readiness was going to arrive in the mail with the Social Security. Notice, then I lost time. Real time. I lost the kind of time you can't buy back. Not with a bigger 401k. Not with a nicer house. Not with a new TV. I lost years to drifting because drifting feels safe. There's no risk in drifting. There's also no life in it. Now I know this. Confidence comes after you start, not before. You don't get brave sitting on the couch. You get brave by doing one small thing that proves you can still move. And I want you to see how all these problems connect, because people treat them like separate battles. The quiet house makes you feel useless. The money shame makes you hide. The body slows down and your world shrinks. The calls stop coming and you stop reaching out. Time starts slipping because nothing leaves a mark. The clutter grows because you keep saying later. None of that happens alone. It feeds itself. That's why starting over doesn't need to be a big move. It needs to be a small move repeated until it becomes your life. Starting over at 60, 70, 80 is not a makeover. It's not reinvention. It's reclaiming small control, one routine, one relationship, one commitment, 1 week at a time. It's deciding you are not going to keep losing the next 12 months the same. Way you lost the last 12, let me make it practical. Here's a 7-day reset plan. It's simple on purpose, because complicated plans are where older folks go to fail and feel ashamed. Again, this is doable on a fixed income with an older body and a real-life schedule full of Medicare appointments and pharmacy refills. Day 1, move for a short time. A walk is fine. Half a mile is fine. 10 minutes is fine. The point is not distance. It's a signal to your body that you're back in the driver's seat. Day 2, reach one real person. One call or one text that isn't a meme. Hey, I was thinking about you. How are you doing? Keep it short and normal. The goal is connection, not a long emotional talk. Day 3, do 15 minutes of downsizing. One drawer, one shelf, one small corner. Set a timer and stop when it ends. Donate what's usable, trash what's junk, and keep what you truly use or truly love. Day 4, do one health action. Schedule a checkup you've been avoiding. Refill the prescription you keep stretching longer than you should. If you've got a Medicare appointment coming up, write your questions down before you go so you don't walk out confused and annoyed. Day 5, leave the house for a simple outing. Not to kill time, but to be around people. The library is fine. The diner on Main Street is fine. A community center is fine. Spend $4 on coffee if you have to, but treat it like an investment in staying human. Day 6, write 2 lines before bed. What did I actually do today, and what did I actually feel today? 2 lines. That's it. You're creating markers so your days don't vanish. Day 7, make one commitment for next week. 1, a standing Tuesday breakfast. A Thursday volunteer shift. A Sunday church hour. A Wednesday walk with a neighbor. Put it on the calendar like it's non-negotiable. Because your life deserves the same respect as your appointments. That's the plan. 7 small actions that touch everything we talked about your body. Your money stress, your loneliness, your time, your home, your meaning. None of it is dramatic. That's why it works. And if you miss a day, don't turn it into a character assassination. Don't say, "See, I can't do anything." That's the old shame talking. You're not building perfection. You're building a pattern. Here's the lingering thought I want to leave you with, because it's the truth. The quiet house is not the end of your story. It's the place where your excuses get loud enough to hear. And once you can hear them, you can stop obeying them. You can't get back the years you already gave away to someday, but you can stop losing the next ones. So here's my question for you, and I want you to answer it in the comments like you're making a promise to yourself. What is one small action you will do in the next 24 hours? One walk, one call. One drawer, one appointment, one outing, something real, not big, just real.